Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg here with none other than the man, the myth, the legend, the king of the Caymans, but he's not in the Caymans, he's in the Turks and Caicos. Boy, I got to work on this intro, shoots. Karl Bryan.
How you doing, Road Dogg? Good to have you here, bud. Good to be here.
I'm holding down the fort for you up here in Canada, making sure that you've got a safe country to come back to. I'm doing my best for you.
Well done. How's the Turks and Caicos?
Yes. How is all that going? How's the rum? You sent me a text just like, "Hey man, love you, dude." I'm like, "Oh, he's drunk."
I did do that. That is true. Yeah. But I do love you, Road Dogg, and I do that anyways. But I will tell you that Caribbean rum is not too bad. Been watching a little bit of cricket, the West Indies. I'm now a West Indies fan, just a little FYI. I love Australia in cricket, but West Indies, I'm right there. And met a young guy, actually played for Turks and Caicos, so we had a good chat. But loving Turks and Caicos shoots. That's what's happening, bud. That's what's happening. Sun's shining. There you go.
I'm not going to lie. I did check the timestamp on when you sent that text. So it was either a sincere early morning text or a very deep night for you.
It was a very sincere early morning text. Days of... Yeah, anyways, let's go.
I was going to say, you're talking about cricket. You know how I just saw this, one of my Australian friends posted it on Facebook. You know how they have like these golf simulators and everything else inside of sports bars and stuff, like where you actually bring your clubs and like Shanks was in Calgary. I'm sure you remember Shanks.
Yeah.
So I saw that now they're popping up like in Australia where they've got that, but for cricket. So you're actually doing that.
I would be all over that. I would be. Maybe you have to import that to Turks and Caicos shoots. We'll do well, bud. Actually, we'll probably do horribly because they don't actually like cricket that much, is what I'm learning. But anyways, that's okay. But it's the national sport, but nobody plays it. So there you go.
Well, just like, what is it? Lacrosse is the Canadian national sport. Well, I guess there's enough people that play it, but it's not like really that many people are playing it. Even though the National Lacrosse League is back and televised. I think it's on TSN. I have yet. I don't understand lacrosse. It's just like, how do you call a penalty? And like, is it after the 10th time they whack you in the hands, or like, how does that work? You know what I mean? It's unreal. Yeah. I got to ask you though, do you have the NHL package down there? Because like, I'm sure you must be lamenting like just not being able to see your boy Austin Matthews, and I mean, like it's got to be.
I haven't seen out the shoots. I haven't watched a hockey game since I got here, but I haven't even thought about it, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But I'm sure that bug will come back. But I'm
the best part is
out to lunch.
This will be the year that they win. Is the year that you don't watch.
I'm not following. Yeah, this put some money on that. You heard it here first, folks. Well, anyway,
the good news for you is it's the Leafs, and they'll just continue to let you down. So that's good. Anyways, did you want to mention Tom Brady's name before we get going, or did you want to just dive right in?
Dive right in, but you did it for me, Shits. Thank you. Okay. Everybody's happy now.
So, Tom, good job on the win there, big fella. Karl is proud of you, and there it is. There it is. All right. Besides, it's funny because I just see biggest issue is in the next, and it's like your biggest issue is your obsession that you have with Tom Brady. But if we were to dial back into a bigger macro question here, and love it because we're still early on here, what would you say, and I can't wait to hear this because this could go 20 different directions. So this is all
what is it?
Fine this morning. what is the biggest issue that you see with the business coaching industry? Like, that's a whopper of a question right there.
Yeah, there you go, Shoots. Well done. The biggest issue I see? Is that it?
Biggest issue, yes.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay, no barrier to entry. Might be a topic for another day. Like you say, we go in a bunch of different directions, but I think that one's pretty obvious. Look, coaches will tell you how passionate they are about helping people, right? I love Tony Robbins, and that's the reason they get started as a coach, right? And like, I drive a fast car, but that does not make me a mechanic, right? Think about that as a metaphor. You need to, I like to help people, and I'm not going to become a doctor anytime soon, right? So you need to be able to identify problems and then very clearly, succinctly, and with probability, I'm going to say, solve them, right? Like, hence why we built business coaching software, by the way. We built profit acceleration software to make coaching, I don't call it turnkey because it's never turnkey, because you're involving, lot of psychology involved, and that's never going to change no matter, what anybody does. But we try to make it as turnkey as possible. So I do believe we've done that. But anywho, as a framework, here's what happened, like literally just the other day, right? So my wife and daughter and I, we went horseback riding. It was awesome, right? And saw a stingray with a 5-foot wingspan. We've done this a couple times, right? Like we're loving the horseback riding. It's kind of cool. And then so we done it a few times, and like we're walking 4 feet in the water with the horse, right? And my daughter, she's 8 years old. You can imagine that could be a little bit intimidating, but she didn't have enough time to get scared, didn't realize the danger that she was possibly in, if I'm totally honest with you. But anyway, so we're doing that. It's pretty cool. My wife's loving it. My daughter's got a big smile on her face. And then we're going along the beach at Mach speeds, right? So like you're ripping around, like you're riding the horses. At the end, you're riding the horse as fast as you can. And now you're just doing this in like 2 inches of water, and the water's splashing up, and it's, the wind's flowing through your hair, and just kind of cool, like you feel like you're running in the wet version of the Kentucky Derby, right? It was unreal. So the ride's over, right? And then we're like, so basically, and there's a bunch of folks, and it's on this popular little walkway, right? There's lots of people walking by, and then there's a little place to get refreshments, right? And so we went with another family this time. And so my friend's standing there, we're waiting in line. And I'm thinking, look, I'm waiting in line for the water. And a buddy that I'm with his family, he says, look, the line's too long. I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to get her back at the hotel. Right. And then I'm there sitting there going, I need water. I'm getting water. Like that's what's happening. And I think maybe as a metaphor, moral of the story is that some people see the water, and then some people see the line. Some people see what they want and commit to it, and then some people see, what's basically in the way of what they want, and use that as an excuse to kind of give up and not get what they want, right? And then think of other areas of your life where the same thing happens, and to the people around you, by the way, and to your coaching clients, where they see the line rather than the goal. They see the line instead of the result. They see it instead of the water. So I think that's a major issue for coach and client, right? Because the client will say that they're overwhelmed, and then the coach will say that they gave them so many great ideas, but they didn't do anything, right? No such thing as a bad student. There's only a bad teacher. You're going from LA to I always say this is a framework for coaching is you've got little red arrow, you are here, and then you've got the destination, and then coaching is the middle. The problem is it's very difficult to identify the little red arrow, you are here. So picture a big map at a ski hill or a national park, little red arrow, you are here. And then establishing what they want, which we've talked about that many a times in many other podcasts. So I won't go down that track too far, but that's the key. You know what I mean? And you just, there's going to be, so think LA to New York, there's going to be potholes. There's going to be an accident. There's going to be, reroutes if you're going to go on that far of a destination. So you just got to dial in on the destination and be willing to adjust your approach when you go. Everyone wants to be a public speaker, but the speakers never want to fill the rooms. Therefore, aspiring actors never get off the ground, and their dreams stay in fantasy land, right? And like, I think another issue, Road Dog, is like people see success in business coaching like it's a game of hide and seek with your teenage friends, right? Like you magically find the person and then it's over. That's not the way it works. And this sounds, we've all heard this before, but I challenge a business coach who's trying to crack it to really go down this. Like it's the journey, right? Like you got to work hard every day to stay passionate. Don't expect your passion to remain your passions, because that is not going to happen. I love hockey, and I used to own a hockey rink, and I got to tell you, I was so sick of hockey gear and hockey and putting on the skates. You never seen anything like it, right? So you got to work very hard to stay passionate. See that as the job, or like, not being able to see the forest through the trees, or not, they can see the summit, but they're not seeing the entire mountain, right? Probably you end it, the podcast Progress Equals Happiness. So if there was a destination, passion would automatically go, because the progress would automatically halt once you reach the destination, right? So a better framework is, don't do what you love what you do. Fall in love with the marketing, fall in love with the clients, fall in love with the results, fall in love with the testimonials, fall in love with the events, fall in love with speaking to new people, fall in love with going to the networking group, fall in love with tracking your results. And by the way, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, and this is great advice for your clients. Everybody says do what you love, right? And normally, if you see a billionaire doing a talk, he will always finish, or certainly part of his message is do what you love, but you can't, again, I hate to say it, it's pretty bad advice, and it's coming from somebody who's already cracked it big time. You're significantly better off to do what you're good at, right? So that's where your clients, you can have a lot of success. So with that said, so the right answer, I think I've built, what we have built is profit acceleration software. And I think, again, the whole premise behind it is to make coaching significantly easier, and then to help people build profitable businesses. In fact, just on the Road Dog, before we got started, we just talked about, last Thursday, we dropped the Profit Acceleration Simulator, a new product. We've been working on it for definitely 6 months in development, but we've been at it for, say, 12 months, and 6 months, farting around. We got this new Profit Acceleration Simulator that, if by any account the early results are that it is going to be a little bit of a game changer. The premise behind Profit Acceleration as a concept is the mistake business owners make. They're trying to get to 1 million, right? And that's their goal, and that's their ego. And again, yes, I've talked a lot, but I could never stop, because this is the foundation. What's the biggest issue with coaching? It's this: is the business owner, he was at 500 grand, and now he's at 1 million, because that was his goal. And now he's making less money at 1 million than he was at 500,000, right? And that, again, is that unique? It's almost the trend. It's almost more common than the opposite, right? So it's not about growing business, it's about doing a profitable business. The only difference is when they get to 1 million, making less money, the same money, or a negligible improvement on what they were making at 500,000. Like their profit 500,000 is the same as their profit of 1 million, but the difference is they have way more staff, way more things to manage, way more headaches. They're way more overwhelmed. And the sad thing is the business owner, because they're not educated on this stuff and they don't have access to our software, to you and the business coach that's using it, they're confused as to why this is happening, right? Like, again, a way better goal, rather than hit 1 million for your ego, is to hit $500,000 with 50% margin, make $250,000, and run a small, tight, full, valuable business that keeps getting better and keeps getting easier to run, right? So look, when I drop the simulator, again, what I use as the example is the magic of business is compounding, but nobody ever wants to think about compounding and do the hard work to day 27. And what I mean by that is when you take a penny and you double it for 30 days, on day you've got like $5 million, but on day 29, you've got 2.5. The day before that, you got 1.5, 1.25. The day before that, like 750,000 or whatever those numbers are. It doesn't get super, it was only like $100,000 only a short time before it hit 5 million. That's compounding. So small, okay, what am I saying? Small incremental improvement, multiple areas of your business. That's where the magic is, right? Like rather than the home in one area, baseball, singles build championship teams, right? Far more than home runs, ideally. But you take singles and good base running over home runs every day of the week, twice on Sunday, and not to mention defense. That's boring stuff. Like defense would be the equivalent of accounting and financial statements for me for business. But nobody wants to do that stuff. Everybody wants to hit home runs. Just like in hockey, everybody wants to have the big slap shot. So actually, Road Dog, here's like another example. In fact, I was reading about this not long ago, or maybe I was listening to it. What is it called? Black Death of Childbed, I believe it's called. And it's like this phenomenon in Europe. And moms were dying ridiculous probability within, I'm going to call it 72 hours of delivering their baby. And no one could work it out. They knew what it was. It was only getting worse and worse, right? And it got to the point where 50%, maybe even more, of mothers who were giving birth died as a result. If you understand the math and you look over history, young mothers don't die. And of course, you'll give me anomalies, but generally speaking, young mothers do not die. So how the heck is this happening? It was scary as anything. So the story goes that the doctors were studying every one of the corpses, and they were studying for trends and irregularities and anything they could find out about what was going wrong, right? And a researcher pointed out, and he said, the doctors are doing autopsies in the AM. We're not washing their hands and definitely not sterilizing their hands before going in to help the mom give birth in the afternoon. And that was another trend. Is that the ones giving birth in the morning were not dying, right, as the ones giving birth in the afternoon, if you can believe it, right? So the slight adjustment made was washing their hands, their hands and any tools they would have been using. It was so long ago, I don't know that there was many tools, but bingo, bango, bungo, Black Death of Childbed basically disappeared, never to return. And it was like literally washing your hands. Airplanes. Everybody's scared of getting in an accident, like a crash on an airplane, and then you think about mechanical issues, and you think about the engines not working, etc. Look, planes go down because of pilot error, right? So, and that's just like 90% of the accidents are pilot error, right? So, would you want to fly with a pilot that didn't have a pre-flight checklist, right? Or the 2008 financial collapse was wholly avoidable. And 100%, like it was pilot error, let's call it, right? Same with the fall of, say, Lehman Brothers. Moral of the story, you are likely your own problem. Your client is likely the old problem. Whereas we want to think about the pandemic. We want to think about the financial collapse. We want to think about crypto taking over, or crypto falling by the wayside, or want to, you know what I mean? Like Facebook changed their algorithm. Apple's phones changed. It's like it's pilot error, it's coach error for your own business, and then it's plumber error, landscape error, butcher, baker, candlestick maker error, right? For the individual business owner, right? So, it makes you wonder, like in these crazy times that, like with, the beautiful coronavirus and whatnot, like, you know what I mean? Is there something we're wholly and totally missing that in, 1, 5, 10 years, we're going to look back and go, oh my goodness, right? Like, how could we have been so silly, to lock one another in our houses and that sort of thing, and, keep our kids out of sport. But anyway, so look, Road Dog, what mistakes are like business owners making, right? Like, again, I think last week we talked about this, or the week before that, but the law of triviality is something that I wrote about recently, and I got a lot of feedback on that. It's just, you gotta, big rocks versus little rocks, you gotta go to the big rock. But if given the option, the law of triviality is that if given the option of doing something complex and something trivial, you'll go to trivial almost like 80, 90, 95, depending upon the individual, but 90% of the time they go to trivial, right? So that's why the local school spends so much time on the stupid yearbook when they should probably be upgrading the text curriculum and then having a look at what we're teaching the kids, right? So what are those 150 activity business going to what's trivial? So biggest issue, Road Dog, no barrier to entry. But again, you don't become a coach if you're passionate and you love Tony Robbins. You become, because you can diagnose a problem in a business and then basically prescribe a solution and then kick them in the what to basically get there. So I don't know, Road Dog, what do you think, bud?
Well, I think you need to move closer to a window because you're cutting out a little bit. So I'm not sure if you're actually in Turks and Caicos or if you're in some sort of end of days bunker in the mountains right now. It's hard to
How
say,
bad?
but it's not that bad. But I'm just saying, every once in a while you're cutting out.
Yeah,
So
cool.
lift your
Sorry.
hands, and then that way you'll be at least 5 feet tall. Um, Listen, the other thing I wanted to just actually ask is like, what about all the things that you reference as concepts that you quote unquote stand against, right? Like, I feel that those types of things are relevant here as well. Like, would you not say so?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think you mean like the 4 hour work week, Road Dog, right? Like subconsciously, somebody reads the 4 hour work week, knows that Tim Ferriss is the man. I mean, give me a break. I mean, the guy's, obviously a very intelligent guy. Well, the title of the book, if nobody, you buy the book, read the front cover, maybe the back cover if we're lucky, get halfway through chapter one if you're super lucky, and then assume that the book is about a 4 hour work week. And it's, it's about a lifestyle book, but it's like getting 40 hours of work done in 4 hours, as opposed to the other. So a 4 hour work week's great as long as your competition isn't pumping out 8, right? Um, so yeah, stay like that's something that I, be careful with that passive income. I've said this a zillion times, but the guy promoting passive income pretty much guarantee the people with passive income are probably not out there promoting it. The secret, we both know the secret and share the same view of it. It's completely missing action, right? So positive thinking is better than negative thinking for sure. But if the secret was the secret, the guys who wrote the book would have been sitting in their hotel room, you know, really pumped up on their bed, going, hoping for a big bag of money to fall on their head, fall out of the sky under their head. Clearly, they were going from community to community, to city, state to state, country to country, airplanes, buses, travel, promoting the secret, and that's why it was such a success, right? So, do what you love and make millions. It's kind of similar to eat chocolate cake and lose lots of weight. Again, do what you're good at. Just doing what you love. If you do what you love, you're about to hate what you used to love. The end, right? The end. You got to fall in love with the process, fall in love with your clients, fall in love with the marketing, fall in love with, building the landing page, falling in love with, looking at financial statements and like tweaking those financial statements and finding little ways to squeeze it, right? Multiple streams of income. Road Dog, again, talked about this to death, but it's a huge, your coaching client is sitting there trying to work out how they're going to start another company, start another division, start this, start that. And, then if they're synergistic, then I'm all for it, as in the same client be sold something different. Like that's like Amazon Web Services. Basically what Jeff Bezos did is he looked at his profit and loss statement, looked at his biggest expenses, and started a company to do that because he became his biggest client immediately. In other words, the business, you know what I mean? Like his business became profitable on day one because he was the client. His other business was the client, right? So, but multiple streams of income, just doing. Bill Gates wasn't out there, and Jeff Bezos wasn't either, and Michael Dell wasn't, and anybody else, trying to what would you know what I mean? Like, build their real estate portfolio. Of course, those things happened. So the framework is get one stream of income to 5 million before you deviate under any circumstances. And then, of course, if I spoke to you and you got the 5 million, I would challenge you big time on whether or not that time, energy, and focus would be better spent, drilling down on that same, getting it from 5 to 15 million with high margins, as opposed to going to another business, taking your eye off the prize, watching expenses grow, and becoming that business that I talked about earlier that made more at 500,000 than they did at $1 million, and the guy's confused, So, posing on Facebook with lots of cool stuff. Another one, like I say, I love Jeff Walker and I love the product's launch formula. But like launching product after product after product, I've had one product for 15 years, and I just keep improving it. And the simulator, it's all part of the exact same bundle that I had over a decade ago, right? But I constantly am updating, upgrading our existing offerings. I've had one offer, so imagine if you hire a sales guy and there's only one thing for him to sell, period. how much easier is that going to be for him? And then there is a debate to say that there should be 3, which I think, again, we talked about that recently. I just think, platinum, gold, silver level products. And there's absolutely a debate for that, but this is the way we've chosen to do it. And we have one product we drill down, and it's working. So we're not going to break something that isn't fixed, or we're not going to fix something that isn't broken. Look, so I want to do, so you talk about standing, things that I stand against and whatnot. This is Simon Sinek. Love the guy. I can't remember, what is it? Start with why is what I'm going to call it. I'd probably making a meal of that, but he's got this framework, right, where every business and their staff know what they do, they know how they do it, but do they know why they do it, right? So what is that? So they got what, how, and why. And it's not, and the why you do what you do is not about earnings, and it's not about profit. It's, that's not a why. It's about purpose. It's about cause. It's about belief. It's about, why should anyone care about the problem that we're solving? Why should anybody care about what it is that we get out of bed on a daily basis for it? And then if they do have it, which most of them don't, like I dare say 90%, including the coaches listening, if they do, it's like, is that communicated at a high level, right? And then, so basically Sinek, he teaches this reverse engineered process of how inspired brands, inspiring brands, like organizations that, so if someone has a tattoo of the brand, we'll call that an inspired brand. And if no one's ever got a tattoo and no one's ever going to get a tattoo, then that would be a non-inspired brand, let's call it, right? So think Harley Davidson, think Burton Snowboards, definitely Apple, maybe Nike might fall into it, Tony Robbins, people and brands. I've written, these are the types of companies that I've written about. And again, don't think that that's an accident, right? Disney would also fall into that category, right? Mickey Mouse, etc. So an example of, say, Apple, right? And if they were like everyone else, they'd say something like, Apple computers are the best. They're designed beautifully by the best of the best. They're simple to use for even the most novice of computer users of any age. Do you want to buy one? Right? And that's how most of us, and that's how most companies are building and creating a marketing message. And a lot of business coaches are doing it. A lot of business coaches are doing it with their clients, right? So if we were an accounting firm, we employ the best of the best. It will save you tons of tax. We do all the work for you. Simple as can be for even the most novice of business owners. Want us to do your taxes? Do you want to buy from us, right? So not exactly inspiring, I would dare say. So think of a little bit of telling a story, or the greatest speech of all time is Martin Luther King. And it started with, I have a dream, right? Didn't start with, I have a step-by-step plan. It started with, I have a dream. He started with what he believes. He painted a picture before he even got going with his, with his speech. So how does Apple do it? They go, and again, I'm going to probably not quite nail this, but in a nutshell, everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. We challenge the status quo by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, user-friendly. We just happen to make the world's best computers. Do you want to buy one? In a nutshell, they got to the same place. Do you want to buy one? But they started with how they're challenging the status quo and painting a picture, basically their dream. So they reversed engineered the order of the message, was starting with why. And that's kind of Simon Sinek's whole shtick, is that, you start with why. And and most, again, are starting at a point, as a main theme. How do you do it? How do your clients do it? The restaurant, when you go to the local restaurant, did they have a storyboard? What do you call it? Like a little T-framed dealio? That's wrong. But do they have something on the table that tells the story? If I flip over the menu, does it tell the story of the owner, why they do what they do, why they choose sushi, where they're originally from, why they're the best, etc.? Does the chiropractor sit down before he takes x-rays and starts cracking your back And does he tell you a story of why he does what he does and some of his higher living views and then things that he stands against? And I think we all know that without your guidance, the answer is no. And the same with the landscaper. And then they'll say, well, they don't have time. They don't want to hear it. And that is how you deepen a relationship times 100 with your client. And that's how you get what we refer to as price elasticity, where basically someone's charging 100, you could charge 250 and still get it. Somebody's charging 1,000, you could charge 2,500, still get it. Somebody's charging 5,000 and you could charge 10,000 and still get it. And that's how Apple is Apple. They're telling their story, 100% of the time. Right. And again, as a framework, they're kind of standing against. So I kind of like that, start with why. And then I can feel, Road Dog, somebody's listening to this and go, God, it's a pretty high level concept. Like, how would I learn to do that? And like anything with the, a penny doubled for 30 days, becomes roughly 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is. You just got to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. If you just work on this for 365 days, consecutively, you'd be dangerous at 365 days, right? But it's boring. It's tough. It's tedious. It's not sexy. It's not delusional. It's not the 4-hour work week. It's not The Secret. It's not, the lottery ticket kind of, high ticket sales, instant success. So anyways, Road Dog, that's, obviously those concepts I stand against, and I don't stand against just to hear myself think. It's like, I just, multiple streams of income. I can show you a zillion examples of why it's a really stupid idea, the end. So I'm not standing against it to hear myself talk. I'm standing against it for the protection of my clients. I'm doing it for the protection of the business coach client relationship. You know what I mean? That's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
Well, it's funny you're talking about like the why, the story, all that. I still laugh. It's like there's still people out there that are just like, family run business. We've been in business 25. Like, no one cares. Like, you know what I mean? Like I saw an ad actually this morning on that. It's like, we've been around since 1950 something. Like, I really don't care. Like there comes a point where it's like, yeah, I want to know that you're legit and you've been around. But then after a while, it's like, okay, well, why else should I care? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's interesting. I actually saw it was actually an agency that put it out. They made a good point of just saying, when it comes to your story, it has never been easier to get your story out there. But the problem is, it's the same for everybody. So you got to make sure that you stand out in that sea right now, in that red ocean that we're in. Like, how can you differentiate yourself, right? Like, and that's no one's. What, like, I know I've got my theory on it, and that's just people are too scared and they're of being, I guess, maybe not vulnerable. I don't think that's the right word, but just in terms of they're almost embarrassed, I think, of why they do what they do. Right?
Yeah. Like Road Dog, it's hard. When given the option between complex, let's call it hard, versus easy, they'll go to easy, right? And to come up with your story and craft it in an interesting way, it's much harder than it is to not do that. It's just the truth. And that's where they need the coach. Like, if given the option, your kids would go to bed without brushing their teeth. But they got dad there going, guess what? You're brushing your bloody teeth, right? And eventually what happens? It becomes second nature, have their 30th birthday one day, and it's not even a question. And flossing and all the rest. Same thing. They come home. It's easier to not do their homework than to do the homework because it's harder, right? So again, but it's the big rock. It's is that the best example? No, but no doubt you get the idea. Given the option between hard and easy, you'd naturally go to easy. That's you, me, and everybody else. That's why you got to have, you got to have a framework. You got to have you got to have some. It's discipline, but it's significantly bigger than discipline, right? Because you got to be working. I want to be healthy, right? That's why you brush your teeth. That's why you eat your vegetables. So there you go.
Hang on though.
It's hard.
When you're talking about sharing your story. Like, how often do you think you should share it?
Apple does it every single day and pretty much every single ad. It should become it becomes the fabric of the product. Like, it's like, have you ever seen a dirty Apple laptop? You ever noticed that? You ever seen somebody take a sticker and put it over the Apple? And they people just don't do that, right? Like versus, you got an HP computer, they'll put the sticker over top of it. Microsoft, it depended upon, there's a lot of big Microsoft fans out there, but there's also the exact opposite. But Microsoft, gets covered up and then Apple does not. So you know what I mean? That's part of the story. And by the way, the products are so beautifully engineered. It's just, that's part of you know what I mean? Like that, it becomes fabric of the whole thing. It's the business coach, the way that they show up to the local networking group. You got to show, like, you go to the networking group, go with the attitude that you're going to help people no matter what. If anybody pays you, anybody doesn't pay you, that's completely irrelevant to change the existence of the people in the room, right? The end. That's you and I, like when we started this podcast, we sat down, drank a lot of beer, sitting down. What's the plan? What are we going to do? What's going to be the framework? And we just talked about how at the end of the day, the standard, the benchmark was going to be nothing short. And, advertising, interviewing other folks, like have a look. You seen an ad? You don't think I get an email every single day asking if they can advertise on it to do? The end is, what value is putting an ad in the middle of this podcast going to add, right? Zero zip. It's just going to annoy you. And that's the end. So it's not going to happen. I don't know. So and that's not to say that it will never happen, by the way, but I can tell you it hasn't happened yet. It's not going to happen for the foreseeable future, the end. So it's just value. So I don't want to, this isn't about, Road Dogg and me, this podcast. This is about the business coach rolling up to the local networking group, when you do your event, right? Like we always talk about educating. Road Dogg, if you guys are on the pre-show before this, he always starts it with, look, we're not here to try to be politically correct, right? Like, so, and not that we're totally, it's not like we're being ruthless either, because frankly, I don't know that that's going to add a lot of value. What we're doing is we're trying to be entertaining and we're trying to be educational. Well, if I'm going to do a speaking event at the local chamber, the standard is that if there's 2 people, 20 people, 200 people, 2,000 people standing in front of me, the standard is that I am going to elevate the level of consciousness of every single person in that room to the best of my ability. The end, drop the mic. That's the goal. And then the money comes. And I believe that if every business coach took that attitude, first of all, they would initially do it, Road Dogg, and I don't know that they would have the capacity to roll up and add value at every single group with the same people. But then guess what? If they set the standard to do that, then guess what? I believe that they would get there. I'll give you another example, Road Dogg. Like I'm, living on an island in the beach, and I've walked up and down this beach. I can't even tell. I've spent hours and hours and hours walking up and down this beach, and I can see people, like I'm staring at my phone. I'm listening to something, so I got my phone up against my ear. I'm doing whatever. I can see it in people's body language and the way that they look, and they're thinking, look at this idiot, right? He's walking up and down the beach, and he's like, can't get away from his phone, and he's staring at his phone. But you see, they don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I've got a bigger purpose. I'm trying to educate myself because Road Dogg and I are going to do a podcast, or I've got a live profit acceleration call on Tuesday. I've got I'm going to be dropping a, profit acceleration simulator on Thursday. Well, I'm doing homework on that and what it looks, you know what I mean? You get me, Road Dogg? Like I don't care what they think. Because I have very clear and defined bigger picture for myself. So walking up and down that beach, I'm really, really okay with staring at my phone, because I'm not staring at my phone. What I'm doing is I'm, increasing and leveling up my level of consciousness so that I can give it a higher level. If that makes, I don't know how that sounds, but I got to tell you, if I wanted to go to the same networking group and the same eight to 12 people on a weekly basis, and the standard was that I was going to change their life, improve their life, increase their level of consciousness every single week when I showed up, I would have to educate myself on a weekly basis so that I could come up with a new metaphor, a new example, a new story, a new really cool branding exercise, a new really cool way of looking at a financial statement, etc. Right? So I don't know. So the answer is, you're telling the story. Apple does it through literally their products and the way that they look and the way that they're designed. Definitely their advertising. But I think that a business coach could do that too. What do you think? What do you think, Road Dogg?
Yeah, I'm just trying to place it right because it's like obviously like I get it. Like I get the importance of like your story is what separates you from everybody else. So I guess my question would be is like how like let's say because you talk about like you and I both we love live events, right? So the
Yep.
question is, do you put it right up front, like, or how do you weave that into your presentation? Is there would you put it right up front, like just to build
Yep.
that credibility and everything else, and I guess more like likability as well, the trust.
Yeah. Funny, I got to tell you, I did a lot of live events, and I didn't even my story was the one thing that I didn't want to go over. And what I do, so what I would do, the way that I do it, Road Dog, and this isn't going to be for everybody because you shouldn't be shy with delivering your story. But like, let's say that I get to numbers. If I'm going to do an event and you're going to come to it, and it's 2 hours long, with 1,000,000% certainty, I'll tell you that I'm going to talk to you about numbers. And then what I'm going to tell you is part of my story was that I got started as a sales and marketing guy. And quite frankly, I did pretty well. And then all of a sudden, I got introduced to this really cool concept of financial statements, understanding undervalued assets and undervalued opportunities. So now, you know what I mean? And then I'm going to delve into, I've gotten to know, I mean, I literally wrote a book, co-wrote a book, Accounting 101 for Business Coaches. I can read a financial statement. I can explain a financial statement. I've sat with accountants with 30, 40 years of experience who have said to me, wow, you really explain that in a unique, different, easy to understand way that I wish somebody would have, explained it to me in the past. Right. So that's what they've said. So then I go into, okay, now let's have a look at X, Y, Z. And then part of that, Road Dog, would maybe explaining that percentages are a hack to massive wealth and the profit acceleration for a business. What do I mean by that? 2 to 3%. You get a landing page, you're driving traffic, you have 2%, and then you increase it to 3%. The naked eye looks at that and goes a 1% improvement. I don't know. That's not very exciting. Well, I'm going to show you when you understand how to read numbers and you understand percentages, that's a 50% improvement. And that's absolutely worth spending a whole lot of time, energy, and killing some brain cells on. If a client's got 20% margins and we increase them to 30%, the naked eye looks at that and goes, he says 10% improvement. I don't know. It's okay. Not bad. They made 100 grand last year. So 10% would be 110. It's good, but it's not great. Would those brain cells be better killed in another undertaking, focus elsewhere? Well, you guys, if you've listened to anything I say, you know what I'm about to say. 20 to 30 is not 10, it's 50. So if they profited $100,000 last year without hiring a salesperson, driving traffic, learning how to use Facebook, doing high ticket sales, hiring a sales team, managing a sales team, outsourcing X, Y, Z to India or whatever, they've now making an extra $50,000 just by going to their profit and loss statement and doing it in an intelligent way. So, Road Dog, you see how as part of my presentation, as part of the way I speak, I'm kind of I'm littering my story throughout. And frankly, personally, that's the way that I like to do it. I also believe that humility is a superpower. So what I try to do is I try to deliver in a confident way, but with humility, because I just believe that humility is a superpower. So again, as part of I can't believe I got as far as I did by not understanding how to read a financial statement. And when I was reading The Secret and High Ticket Sales, Rich Dad, Poor Dad type books, and now I read Letters to Shareholders as more of my foundation, and I can't begin to tell you, the difference that it's made for me. Right? Anyway, so Road Dog, that's the way that I do it.
Get
Right,
it. Like,
wrong, and
especially
different.
you're staying humble. I get it. It's like you walking up to a podium. Like you got to stand on a little stool. You got to microphone down every time, right? Like that's humbling, dude. Jeez. One thing I will say, and then we got to wrap. But when you talk numbers, it's no different than when I'm running ads. People don't even know what they're looking for. You know what I mean? It's just like you don't even know the metrics and the KPIs that you need to be following. They think I just need to get an ad going. Like, okay, there's your image, your headline, your copy. That, yeah, super important, absolutely, where it's being directed to. But then how do you know? How do you measure what's actually working? And
Yeah.
that's That's the same deal inside of a business,
Okay.
Knowing your numbers.
Yep. Road Dog, can I expand on that? You tell me if I'm right. So what they do is they hire you and they're looking for a savior. And then the way that you're always going to get those types of guys, right? Because they're going to, and gals and business owners. So the way that you close the gap is that you educate them. Fair call?
Yeah, 100%. We're doing this with a client right now. It's like they've got, it's like $3,000 a day of ad spend. It's just like they want a very specific result, and it's like, yeah, okay, well, here's what the stats are telling us, and here's what the numbers are telling us. So there's certain things where it's like, look, and again, we're looking at trends, we're looking at everything. It's like, well, your weekend numbers are always lower than your weekday numbers. Like, it's just because they don't know what they're looking for, and then it's all the little tweaks. Like this morning, we made a tweak for a client switching off, and I hate to dump on ClickFunnels, but you switch off of that and onto another software, and guess what? As you know, if you go to a landing page, if it takes you more than 3 seconds to load, you lose 20. I think it's like 20% every second thereafter. Well, we've switched to another software that loads in under 3 seconds, whereas the ClickFunnels for fully load was 17. Are you kidding me? Like, we're 17 seconds, bro. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. See you later. Ouch.
Right? But who's tracking that? Who's doing those tests? So who's looking at their financials? Who's pointing out, as you always say, the big red arrow, you are here. Like, look here. This is where you need to look. And no one's doing that for them because they're too busy wearing too many hats, doing too many things inside of their business. And the problem is they probably still have a lot of beliefs that they're operating under that are completely wrong. But anyways, that's a whole nother thing. It's sort of like, just to kind of circle the whole thing back, you get into business because you have a strong why. You start going into the business and you get lost in the business and you forget your why, and then you wonder why you stop succeeding. Right? Like, it's just, it's so funny. It's like, financial services, you get into it because you want to help people retire or plan for their retirements and have, whatever better plans, all this stuff. Well, what they didn't tell you is you're going to spend most of your time prospecting and recruiting. It's like, well, wait a second, what? And you don't know what you're doing. And then it's like, oh, and then that becomes the big problem. So anyway, so like,
there you go.
Like, you want to close us out? Is that the big thing that people should be incorporating from today's podcast, do you think?
What's the big thing? Look, I like, again, some people see the line and some people see the water. And you know what I mean? Making sure that you're not surrounding yourself with people that are looking at the line. And then, of course, you might be the kind of person that's looking at the line and not the water. So you're like, oh, don't beat yourself up. What you do every day, get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And again, 365 days, you don't recognize yourself. Again, championship baseball teams are built on singles. Home runs make sports, the ESPN highlight reel. The singles do not, but the singles and the base stealing, running of the bases in an intelligent way, and then defense are also complemented in there. But it's not home runs that win championships. The end, and it's not the way that championship teams are built, right? Because then somebody wants to mention Joe Carter in 2000 and whatever 19. She was 2000. It was like 19. Aging myself
92, 93.
There you go, Shades. I think it was 93. I was in Australia, laying on a couch at I don't know what time of the morning. Anyways, I was like, oh my god. But anyway, so you know what I mean? Like that won the World Series for the Toronto Blue Jays, but that's not the guys on base or the singles before that got them the 2-3 runs or whatever the heck the score was. So anyway, singles win championships, small little wins. So that, that's it, man. Are you concentrating on the line or the water? Concentrate on the water and getting in clever ways to get there a little bit quicker each day. So there you go, Shoot. So it's my final thing.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. Only one Tom Brady reference, and that was by me. So shame on me for doing it. There was an Apple reference, so that's good. I just got to make sure it's like I got to have a checklist. Speaking of frameworks, I got to have a checklist of all the make sure that we're fully covered across the board. Anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the King of the Caribbean, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want to learn more information about, say, the group coaching software or some of the other stuff that Karl was talking about today, go to focused.com and subscribe today. And as always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone that you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate this episode, as we know that all the streaming services really heavily favor the reviews. So if you like what you heard, please leave us a positive review. And that is it for another week, folks. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.